Thank you for joining me on another episode of She Leads Now podcast, where we help career and entrepreneurial women gain the tools to develop a success mindset, create winning strategies, build collaborative relationships, and take bold action towards creating impact and fulfillment in their lives and careers. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I'm on a mission to awaken and activate women and emerging leaders so they can tap into their innate leadership ability, elevate their influence, and create the impact they were destined to make. If you're ready to uplevel your confidence, courage, and influence, you've come to the right place. Join me weekly for insights, strategies, and resources to help you grow, develop, and embody the leader you were meant to be, so that you can make the impact you know you are called to make and establish the legacy you've always dreamed. The world eagerly awaits the emergence of your brilliance, impact, and influence. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of She Leads Now. I'm your host, Sabine Gideon, and I'm excited to be joining you again this week for a solo episode. Actually, this is a treat week because there's going to be 2 episodes coming out this week. But this one, I wanted to come on and give you should be short, but wanted to give you a sneak peek at some things that are coming up. And also really close out the 3M series that that I shared over the summer or the tail end of the summer. And so first and foremost, for those of you who are listening for the first time, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. I know that there are other podcasts that you could be listening to right now, but you've chosen this one. So I welcome you. And for those of you who have been riding with me since the beginning, welcome back. I am eternally grateful for your support and your listenership. And I'm really looking forward, to the next few months being a bit more engaging between you and I, meaning those who are listening and those who are new. So a couple things before I get into the announcements. I wanted to kind of wrap a bow around the 3M series, mindfulness, mindset, and manifestation that you've been listening to over the last few weeks. And the last episode we left off on, it was really talking about setting boundaries and getting comfortable with setting boundaries and learning to shed the guilt and the shame around setting boundaries. And this one ties into it to an extent, but takes it to a different level. And so over the last few months, I've been contacted by leaders within organizations, specifically who lead women's ERGs or Women X ERGs and their allies. And the requests have been around supporting the women in advocating for themselves, supporting the women in setting boundaries, supporting the women in, stepping up, if you will, in the way that makes sense for them within their careers and their organizations. And I've noticed the theme where, when it wasn't directly spoken, even if it wasn't directly spoken, it was definitely an undertone that, there are real challenges across organizations, or women are having challenges across organizations with regards to not just setting boundaries for the sake of setting boundaries, but to really step into the place where they're owning their own power. And I actually plan to do a series in the next couple of months that is focused on our relationship, our as in women, and our relationship with power and what that looks like and how we can lean into it a little bit more authentically as we move forward. So the conversations have been around, women feeling like they are overburdened or aren't being listened to, so on and so forth. And in one of my presentations, in doing the research, I came across this term called Superwoman syndrome, right? So you can call that the Superwoman syndrome. You could call that people pleaser. You can call that savior syndrome, whatever you want to call it. But basically, it's the notion where women, feel like they have to do it all. They have to take on the burden of everyone else because no one else is going to do it, or no one can do it right. And so they end up in a space where, they're overloaded and overworked and overtired and then resentful for being in that space. And I'm seeing a lot of this, especially in organizations, mostly because, well, for a few different reasons. But as we look at more women have returned back into the workforce over the last couple of years since the Great Resignation, and so now they're learning how to rebalance all of the expectations at work as well as the expectations at home, and whatever other obligations that they have. And then we're also seeing it in spaces where organizations have downsized, and that meant that work had to go somewhere, and the burden has fallen on a lot of women, or they've raised their hands to take on the burden, so to speak. And so now there's this, they're doing double duty, they're doing triple duty, and in some cases quadruple duty. So there are a variety of reasons why, superhuman or superwoman syndrome has become more prevalent. And now I'm hearing more from women of it's too much. It's too much. And, we've either been saying it's too much, or we don't know how to say it's too much. We don't know when to say it's too much. And we don't want the guilt or the shame or whatever else emotion that comes with it of saying no because, we feel obligated. And so I've obviously leveraged my my personal learnings around setting boundaries and saying no or not right now. But I think there are two important things that I want to pull out of this for this particular episode, and then we'll go into the sneak peeks. Is I want you to think back, especially for those of you who have kids. I'm sure you know this very well. Think back to when we were 1 or 2, right? That's when most of us start talking. There are a couple of words that are usually our first words, right? So it's dada and mama, right? Depending on who's the primary caregiver. But think about what the next word is that we learn as kids and that we use sometimes excessively. It's the word no, right? No is usually one of the words that any toddler, no matter what it is, even if it's something that they want, you will hear them, no, 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 no. And, sometimes it's cute and sometimes it's annoying, right? We as parents. But the way that I want you to look at that is, from a childhood development standpoint, that is an age, or that is a period in our lives where we are learning to assert power, where we are learning to play around with this notion of power, where something inside of us says, this word is the word that I use as my agency to declare what it is I want or what it is that I don't want. Now, some of us, if we think back to when we said no in our households, or, in front of our caretakers. What were some of the consequences? What were some of the reactions? What was the behavior? Did we get our way when we said no? Or were we punished and reprimanded when we said no? Right? And I want you to think back about this, because more than likely those initial reactions from your parents or your caretakers around you saying no and you asserting power are still playing, or maybe perhaps they are influencing whether or not you embrace exercising your power and using your voice and asking for what you want or saying what you don't want, or whether you fear asserting your power because the repercussions that you experienced in your earlier years are still there. Now, why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this, one, because I'm going to do the series, because the more conversations I have, the more I realize that this is important. But also, as we're evolving as a society, more and more of our childhood experiences are coming to life in where we have hindrances. And so I wanted to put that out there around setting boundaries and about learning to say no and getting familiar or getting comfortable with saying no and setting boundaries and realizing that that is a way of you exercising personal power, because things are shifting, and the work, the responsibilities that fall on the shoulder of women, I feel, are only getting greater. And this is a perfect time for us to start to evaluate, where are we not saying no, that we need to say no more often, but also more importantly, what are we saying yes to that is devaluing us? And so something that I've been playing around with is, obviously I'm still working through the saying no and the setting the boundaries, or the not right now. But now I'm looking at what I'm saying yes to with a much more critical lens. So it's no longer, saying yes for the sake of saying yes, or saying yes because it sounds good, it feels good, or anything like that. My lens for my yeses, and I'm getting very, very ruthless about this, my lens for my yeses are, is this yes, is this thing that I'm saying yes to, is this person that I'm saying yes to, is this event, you name it, is it worthy of me? And I think a lot of us, the fear that comes around, when it comes to saying no, some of that is just so built in that it's going to take some time for us to deprogram. However, one of the ways to override that programming, or to look at it differently and from a more empowered place, is asking yourself, is this yes worthy of me? And so that is my challenge to you this week, or in the weeks to come, that as things are presented to you, people are asking you to do things, or people are asking things from you, rather than responding in your normal, okay, sure, or saying no, and then dealing with all of the guilt and all the emotions that come with that, I want you to take a pause and ask yourself, is this yes worthy of me? Is this yes reflective of me? Reflective of who I am today, what I represent to myself, and what I want to represent out in the world? Because everything you say yes to is what you're going to get more of, right? So if you're getting things that you do, if things are coming your way externally, whether in your personal life or in your professional life, that you do not want anymore, the first step is to start saying no to them, but to also evaluate when they come through, are they actually worthy of you? And if the answer is no, then your response is no. And your response on the other side is also yes to yourself, right? So it's that flip, because when we're not comfortable with saying no, or there are a lot of deep-seated emotions that are tied to that no, we will self-sabotage, and we will feel bad to the point where we will say yes out of guilt or whatever else. But when you can look at it from the lens of, is this yes serving me? Is this yes reflective of me? Is this yes worthy of me? Then you can start to recondition your mind to move away from the pain or the fear of the punishment that comes with the no, to the joy and the excitement, because the things that you start saying yes to are the things that you actually want, so that you can continue to draw in more things that you want to say yes to. So that's a little tidbit for today with regards to that. Evaluate your yeses and evaluate the worthiness of your yeses as compared to who you are and the value that you bring into the earth. And so lastly, just a couple real quick things. I've been talking about the book. The book is officially out. Leadership Reloaded, Reimagining, Redefining, and Rehumanizing Leadership. You can find it on Amazon at just search my name, Amazon.com, in Kindle and in paperback. I am still offering the pre-launch rate for those who listen to the show. So if you're interested in purchasing the book and getting it signed by me, feel free to check out the link that is in the show notes. You can get it at a discounted price, and you can get it shipped directly to you with my signature and a couple extra goodies just for being a listener on the show. Also, I am starting a series. It's starting this week, actually, with some of the they weren't authors, with some of the women that I interviewed during the original podcast series as what's going on now, what's new, what's changed, what are some of the trends that we're seeing as it relates to leadership, as it relates to women in the workforce, as it relates to diversity and the shift of the evolution, if you will, of where we're headed as a society on so many different levels. So be on the lookout for that. It's called the Leadership in Action series. And first one up will be Michelle Hayward. And I believe that's it for now. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have comments, please know you can always reach out to me at support@SabineGideon.com. I do still have a couple of spots open for private coaching, which are quickly closing. So if you are interested, or even if you just have questions to see if it might be a good fit for you, either now or in the future, feel free to send me an email at support@SabineGideon.com, and I'll be happy to answer that. Again, for those of you who have tuned in today, thank you so much. I appreciate you like no one's business. And I look forward to continuing to bring these insights to you, either my own insights through lessons learned and or the insights of the amazing guests that I happen to have in my network. With that, I'll see you, or I'll chat with you in just a couple days. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of She Leads Now. If you found today's episode helpful or got a piece of insight that you plan to implement in your business or organization, I would love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Sabine Gideon, that's my handle, and send me a private message. Or feel free to go ahead and leave a review on either Apple or Spotify. I also invite you to share this episode with anyone in your network who you think might benefit from this content. Lastly, be sure to check the show notes and the description below for links to resources, including relevant downloads, articles, and any upcoming training. Until we chat again, have a blessed and powerful week.